Any student with the desire to perform music should be afforded the opportunity to do so. No physical limitations or disabilities, be it physical or cognitive, should get in the way of creating art. And not just any art, but meaningful, high-quality masterpieces. There's research that justifies the positive impact music has on the brain. It increases cognitive skills and memory. However, the emotional impact of music changes lives. Music affects students in a way that cannot be measured in test scores. Music affects the heart of an individual. It teaches power and subtlety, leadership and servanthood, individuality and conformity. Every child needs these skills. Art is at the core of our society, and it needs to be made available to every young person.
When I think of Mr. Cayer, there is one definite thought that always comes to mind for me, and that is that the man will look at a student or will look at a situation and all he sees is an opportunity. He looks at each and every student, no matter what their socioeconomic background is, no matter what their academic performance level is, he looks at them and he sees potential. And that is the sign of a true leader.
Some students feel that they can't join band because of financial reasons. There's a misnomer that music is only for wealthy kids. Well, here at Southwest, we've overcome this challenge by writing grants, soliciting donations, and fundraising thousands of dollars to build an inventory of quality instruments for those that can't afford them. In return, students must provide practice records indicating that they're putting those instruments to good use. Without these fundraisers, many of our finest students would have been denied musical opportunities.
I have a 6th grade student who saw the band perform, and he decided that he wanted to be in the band, and he's been saying that Mr. Cayer is his band conductor and he's looking forward to being in band. So when I approached Mr. Cayer, I told him that this student has particular behavior problems sometimes, and Mr. Cayer just said, bring it on, and he was ready to, take on the challenge.
My first year teaching band at Southwest Middle School was in 1995. I remember this young boy, Neil, walked in and said that he wanted to play the drums. I looked down and noticed that he was missing a hand. I didn't have the heart to say, no, you can't do it. I mean, if you looked at this kid, you saw ambition in his eyes. That night I thought about Rick Allen, the one-armed drummer from Def Leppard. I'd wondered if anybody told him, no, you can't do it. So the next day, I met with Neil with 2 bicycle tubes that were modified to be worn on his forearm like bracelets. We slid the drumsticks under the tubes, which allowed him to play the drums just like any other percussion student. It took a lot of time and effort, but when he reached the 8th grade, he'd earned a spot in the all-county band. I was so proud of him. And since then, I've learned that students have more drive and persistence than we might give them credit for. And because of Neil, I've taken on the challenges of teaching students with multiple sclerosis, autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and even blind and deaf students. Many of my most memorable experiences came from seeing these students achieve greatness when others held them to a much lower standard. And that's what it's all about.